Thank you for tuning in to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast, a no judgment zone podcast that covers lifestyle, entertainment, news, and sports. Even though KC doesn't watch sports, but these are minor details. By the way, he reads tarot cards too. Yes, I really mean it. He reads tarot cards too. And now, the host you've tuned in for, KC Phoenix.
Welcome to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I am your host, KC Phoenix. I'm attempting to adjust my microphone here. I have to get used to this. I had bought the podcasting microphone for doing stuff. Okay, this isn't working. Let me have it right here. But anyways, I decided to go ahead and get it because I knew that I needed another microphone. The microphone that I have, it wasn't close to me. It sat on my desk, but obviously, and I had to adjust the audio, which I still might have to adjust the audio for this. You know what? We're going to chuck this up to a bloopers moment is what we're going to do. However, before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. I'm trying to figure out where to start because there's a few things. First of all, I read something recently that the moon is moving into the sign of Cancer right now. Because it was like, if you want to do something, or you may hear good news on Monday because the moon is going to be in Cancer and blah, 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 or whatever. I'm like, okay, this might explain why I was super emotional. I literally just finished watching Rocky, the first Rocky, the very, very, very first Rocky out of the like 25 Rocky movies that have been made. And at the end, he was fighting Apollo Creed, and Rocky would not go down. And even if he went down, he got right back up. He's like, I'm not staying down. I'm getting back up. And I don't know why, something was resonating with me while I was watching this, and my eyes were watering up. And mind you, I've seen the Rocky movie. I own the movie. First of all, I own all of the Rockies, those and the Creeds. I own all the Rockies. I own all the Creeds. And I've seen the first Rocky quite a few times. But for whatever reason, a second ago, before I started recording this podcast, when I was looking at it, my eyes were like watering up because it was resonating with me. I was feeling the emotion of the situation. And I'm like, you know what? I remember reading that the moon is going to be going into Cancer or something like that. I was like, that has to be it, because what's going on here? So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I decided to do this. This is a test. This is the first episode I'm testing out the new microphone on. So hopefully there's a little bit of a difference and I won't have to tinker as much with the audio as I usually do. Let's talk about the 2022 readings and stuff. The two readings I did yesterday, the two final readings for 2022, they were very similar. It was Scorpio and Sagittarius. The largest difference was with Scorpio's reading. Scorpio, the energy was saying that there's a lot of things that need to be removed at the first half of 2022. for Scorpio, and a lot of things that need to be evaluated, audited. For Sagittarius, theirs was a consistent thing of abundance and so on and so forth. Also, I picked up a jail situation with the sign of Scorpio, whether it was for them or someone in their orbit too, which I thought was kind of interesting. Sagittarius, I kept on picking up a Pisces during their reading. For all the other signs, all the other sign readings for 2022, all the readings are great. And I had a feeling that all the readings would be great for 2022 because it's going to be about balance. Like I mentioned before, I did a reading for the collective for 2022, and I had said that it's going to be about balance. Everyone is going to be about equal give and take. It's going to be about evaluating things and whatnot. That's what I mentioned 2022 would be about. So I would probably say the best reading out of all the signs was Taurus. It was like, wow. And I'd probably say second best was Sagittarius. All of the readings I've done for Sagittarius, I've never done a bad Sagittarius reading. Like, it's just, I guess in the tarot deck, Sagittarius, the card of Temperance represents balance. And also it's related to Jupiter as well, with the Wheel of Fortune, which is related to Sagittarius. And it's about good luck. So I guess things just have a way of working out for that particular sign or someone who has that sign in their chart, or they embody that type of energy where things just work out. So, shout out to Sagittarius. For all of the other readings, like I said, they were great readings. They were very good readings. I'm debating if I'm doing December readings. That's, I need to finish with the 2022, where all of the 2022 readings are done. If you listen to the podcast, which most of my consumption is done through the podcast platform, hence why I invest more time in the podcast. I'm doing this video, which, as you know, the only reason I do videos now is because Spotify launched this new thing where they're allowing certain podcasters to do video. So, and because Spotify, let me into the program early, the least I could do is upload videos from time to time, which is what I've been doing. For those who have been following the podcast, you already know that. For those who are new, now you know. As for YouTube, the 2022 readings, I will upload the audios before the end of the year. My goal is to get it done within a week. That's the goal. But you never know. My goal was to have 4 interviews done since then, but due to Google Voice going crazy, where I never had an issue before, but then all of a sudden I had an issue. But again, it forced me to upgrade a lot of stuff with my podcast as my podcast continues to expand. And thank you to those who have been listening to the podcast wherever you are. Shout out to Brazil as well. Brazil seems to be moving up. So shout out to Brazil. I had seen some, as a matter of fact, I have the cities. Give me one second and I'll give a shout out to the cities in Brazil right quick, because I really noticed Brazil was moving up. The federal district, and people in Brazil, whoever's listening to it, don't hold it against me if I mispronounce something wrong, please. So, shout out to the federal district, Ceará, Ceara, Santa Catarina. Of course, Rio de Janeiro. I really want to visit Rio de Janeiro. And then Paraná, and then Rio Grande do Sul. So those cities, shout out to those cities in Brazil for taking the time to listen to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I appreciate your listenership. Also, shout out to Alexandria, Egypt as well, because some people have listened to the podcast in Alexandria, Egypt, or are still listening to the podcast in Alexandria, Egypt. In Alexandria, just so you know, little side note, is one of my favorite names because I love the name Alexander. And for those who may not know, Alexandria came from Alexander because of Alexander the Great. So just a little history there for that. But I've had the upgrade and things are expanding, things are happening. I have certain things that I am doing. I'm just not announcing them. I want to wait and see. I'm doing the wait and see approach before I tell you. Because like I mentioned before with the interviews where I was like, oh, I have these interviews, but knock on wood, you never know what happens. And sure enough, all of the interviews I recorded with Google Voice, all of them were garbage. Luckily, the people were kind enough after I explained what happened with the audio. All of them were kind enough to say, hey, we'll come back on the show and do it again. And I was like, all right, perfect. Let me get the new setup going with interviews, and then I'll go ahead and do the interviews again. So kind of starting from scratch there. Oh, gosh. What else? I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah. This is random. But we know what happened on Friday. Friday was the lunar eclipse. When I did the lunar eclipse reading back about a week or so ago, something told me that what happened on Friday was going to happen. So if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, why do I feel that this is going to happen and then this is going to happen over the weekend? And sure enough, that's kind of what's been happening if you've been keeping up with the news. I'm not saying what it is, but if you know, you know. So, yeah, that was interesting when I was doing that reading. And even when I was, when I went to bed, I was like, really? Is this what's going to happen? That's what because, when I talk to the divine, I talk as if I'm just having a conversation with you. And I'm like, why do I feel like this is going to happen on Friday on the lunar eclipse? I was like, please don't let that information come back on Friday. Can you tell them to hold off until the following week? And sure enough, on Friday, I was just like, okay, we got jokes. So yeah, that's going on. Don't forget, there is a solar eclipse, as I mentioned before, on December the 4th. I will do a reading for the collective for the solar eclipse. I've already picked out the decks. I have a new oracle deck that I ordered and received. So I'm looking forward to using that oracle deck, and I already know what tarot deck I want to use. Going back to the December thing, since I had mentioned that just a moment ago. With the December readings, I have not decided for sure if I am doing them yet. If I do the December readings, they will be different from how I have done them before. They will be a lot shorter, is what they will be. I'm making sure I don't overwork myself because I have a lot of other things that are going on right now. And I don't want to overdo it. I really, really don't. I do not want to overdo it. So I'm making a conscious effort to just do a little bit at a time. I almost was ready to do a lot today on Sunday, but I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that. I was ready to do additional episodes yesterday too, because I was like, wow, I'm only doing the Sagittarius and Scorpio 2022 reading. I'm like, there's only 2 episodes. I could do 1 or 2 more episodes, but I was just kind of like, well, you know what? Let me just, yeah. So that's where I'm at on that. But other than that, everything is good. This is more or less a check-in. I'm attempting to make sure I've checked everything off my mental list. I didn't write anything down. Everyone who listens to my podcast, my longtime listeners, my Firebirds, you know, everything is on the fly. I operate better on the fly. Sometimes I'll write things down, but I'm more of an on the fly person. I don't like to just have a list and bullet points and be all organized and stuff like that. I can be very, very organized, but no, not really my gig. So yeah, thinking if there's anything else going on. I might do a Thanksgiving reading too. I might do that because hopefully Wednesday will be kind of light. As a matter of fact, I bought a new Oracle deck and I've been meaning to use it. This is another Oracle deck. It's the African Goddess Oracle deck. And I bought a new tarot deck as well, which is the Gypsy Tarot deck. So, and I wanted to use them, so maybe I'll do that for Thanksgiving. And do that. Just do like a little short read for the collective day before. Maybe something like that is what I'll do for Thanksgiving. I'll still do the news stories. I'm looking for more sports stories. I have not found any sports stories that are that interesting besides the one I read about where the soccer player allegedly hired a hitman. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you can go listen to that episode or watch that episode or whatever. There was one story, I think, that not sports story, but as in a regular weird news story that kind of came across my laptop. So I might do that this coming Monday. I'm still looking for this to kind of be full steam ahead this Monday because I know everyone's going to be doing holiday stuff, but I feel I need to upload some episodes because for those who do not want to be bothered with their family or only want to be bothered with their family for a limited amount of time, which, you know, we know how it is. We love family, but sometimes we just don't want to be around them too long. And they're like, okay, I need to escape for a little while. I want to at least have some episodes for people to escape to. So there you have that. Thinking if there's anything else. That is really about it. Be on the lookout for a certain episode. Not going to say what it is yet, but be on the lookout for it. It's coming. It's coming. Looking forward to it. All right. That's all I have. This was more or less just a check-in. Like I said, I will start uploading the 2022 audio to YouTube within the next week. That is the goal. So be on the lookout for that. As for the December 4th eclipse, let me see. When's December? December 4th is a week from next Saturday, or this coming Saturday. So I'll probably do that reading that Saturday is what I may do, which is on the 27th. That's the goal. We'll see where my mind is at then and where my energy is at. But out for the solar eclipse happening on December the 4th, and I'm 95% sure it's on December the 4th. I'll go ahead and do the reading on November 27th, the week before, and get that going. As I said before, if I decide to do the readings for all the signs for December, it will be different from what I've done before. They're going to be shorter, like way shorter. So yeah, that is all I have. Let me get going. Thank you again to everyone who's been supporting the show. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. You just don't know how much I appreciate all of you supporting the show, listening, sharing, whatever you've been doing. And that's what I ask you to do. You are my marketing team. I ask you just to, if you can share the podcast, like the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. That way you know when new things are uploaded. This show is a buffet. It is a plethora of things. So some people may not like the tarot card readings, but they may like the wacky news, or they may like the sports as little as I do them. Or they may like some type of entertainment news, or they may like when I talk about food. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I will talk about the pound cake, the healthy pound cake this week. I'll give the details on what went down on that. Because I know some people, because it's a new segment, listen to what I made. The first episode was sweet and sour sauce, which, by the way, that sweet and sour sauce recipe is one of the best sweet and sour sauces, if not the best sweet sour sauce that I've ever had. And not because I created it, but because it's just so good. Just saying. But with the vanilla pound cake, because that's what it turned out being, I'll give you the details on that this week. That's going to happen. All right, let me get going. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.